What's up, guys? This is Dustin Duenas. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first interview in our new series. We don't have a name for it just yet, so please drop your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you think our new series should be called. Today I'm here with Jordan Moore, this big, muscular human being, one heck of a man. New Mexico, born and raised, and he's a professional bodybuilder, if you couldn't tell. I consider him family, something that we were talking about earlier, and one heck of a person, somebody who's overcome quite a bit of adversity, so I'm super excited to introduce you to him. How's it going, man?
I'm doing real good. It's a really exciting pleasure to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you on here, man. Yeah. There's lots of muscles in this first video.
Yeah.
So today I'd really just like to talk about your story, talk a little bit about where you grew up, about your adventure that life's taken you on, and really what the lessons bodybuilding has taught you over the years and where you are today.
Okay.
So to kick things off, just talk a little bit about your childhood and like where you grew up.
So it's been quite a journey. So I grew up in Belen, New Mexico. So most people probably watching this are Albuquerque based, but Belen's just 30 miles south of Albuquerque. So small town, grew up in a real humble family, real supportive system, and at a real young age, I was heavily involved in sports. So I think that is kind of, what led me to being really active, and possibly what kind of shaped my childhood into evolving into bodybuilding.
Old B-town.
Old B-town.
It was a good atmosphere to grow up in, man.
That's right.
That's right. With all that being said, what was your childhood dream? What dream did you have growing up?
So like I said, whenever I was young, I was heavily involved in sports. So big sports addict, and baseball was primarily my number one love. So from a real young age, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. So that was my ultimate dream, and played from T-ball all the way up to high school, and that led to getting some partial scholarship offers to play in college. So I was all state in baseball in my senior year of high school, and but I didn't take those partial scholarship offers, as I was realistic in the chances of becoming a professional baseball player. So I wanted to kind of focus on education as well. So I decided to go to UNM, where I could possibly get a slightly better education, or at least an education that kind of had a better specialty in the areas that I wanted to study. And then I thought to myself, might as well try to keep on pursuing baseball, and I tried to walk on their team. Tried to walk on, didn't make it, and then ended up playing rugby there for a year.
You played rugby?
I played rugby for a year at UNM, that's right.
Man, the thought of you doing that right now is terrifying.
Oh, it was a blast. I loved it, but I quickly realized that balancing work with rugby and school, it was kind of a lot to handle, so that only lasted a year, and then started spending all my time in the weight room.
So how did that transition happen? Like what inspired you so heavily inside the gym once you started spending so much time here?
Well, there's a couple things that really inspired me. Like for one, I've always been the type of person that I have to be doing something. I have to do something active, something competitive, where I'm challenging myself physically. Mentally is one thing, but physically is a whole other thing. So I just kind of got addicted to the process of improving myself in the gym. Now, as far as bodybuilding goes, I have a little bit of background in that only because my godfather, he was a bodybuilder. Oh. Okay, so he passed away when I was about 10, and he was a former Mr. New Mexico, and being Mr. Mexico at the time that he accomplished it was a pretty prestigious title. Now bodybuilding has become a little bit more saturated, and everybody enters, but they're not as serious as they were back then. Being somebody that was crowned Mr. New Mexico was saying something. So I always looked at him like like this action hero. Like, he was super muscular, and I just thought, oh, that's amazing. You know, I can never accomplish something like that. So that was always kind of in the back of my mind, but bodybuilding still didn't even cross my mind. I was just focused on wanting to improve myself in the gym and just keep on getting stronger. And I'll be completely transparent about it. I started getting more attention from the ladies the more that I tended to work out. Now it's kind of reversed. I get more attention from males, but it is what it is. So that's kind of how I got started in the whole journey.
That's awesome, man. That's funny how life works that way.
It is. It really is.
The deeper that you got into it, what goals started to show up? What ended up being your big goal once you were committed to bodybuilding?
So how I actually started bodybuilding is it was more of because like once I started getting results, a lot of people started asking me if I competed, and I was like, no, I don't compete. Didn't really know anything about it, but enough people started asking me, so I thought I just got curious enough to say, you know what, I'll try it out and see what it's about. So 2014, I believe it was, I did my first show, not really knowing anything about it at all. So did my own diet. I kind of knew what to eat, like how to eat clean and everything like that, but didn't really necessarily know how to prep properly for a show. But I did the best I could, and my first show I took 4th place. And it was a pretty deep lineup. I think there was about 35 competitors in my first show. And so I thought to myself, like, 4th place, I didn't even know what I was doing. I could probably do something a little better.
It's not bad.
So then I was like, oh, there's another show in a month. I'll go do that show. Then I took 4th again. And then there was a show a month later. So I was like, I'll do that one. I took 4th again. I was like, what the heck? Like, this is, what is this? And I just kind of got addicted to the process of just trying to beat myself and keep on progressing. And then it got to the point where I was like, well, I can probably be doing something a little better. So that's whenever I sought out and hired a coach to coach me through nutrition, because at that time I already became a certified personal trainer. I kind of knew how to work out correctly. I kind of knew what things to eat right, but once I said, like I said, prepping for a show is completely different. So I got in touch with this guy, and he prepped me into a show, and I won the show. And then things kind of started to progress a lot more rapidly.
So that ended up being your big goal was to.
So well, the ultimate big goal was like when I first started competing was like to turn pro, But after taking 4th place, for the first couple shows, I quickly realized that it was going to be a lot harder than I thought. So being pro was always in the back of my mind, but I knew that it was going to take time. Didn't know how much time it would take, but at the end of the day, I just thought to myself, as long as I keep on progressing and keep giving 100% effort, I'll attain that goal. I was real confident in that.
And you weren't wrong. You were not. Yeah. You were not wrong.
It took a while, but I wouldn't trade anything for that journey.
What do you think made it so elusive in your first handful of years taking on that goal?
Well, I don't think I just really realized, how hard of a process it is to actually put on lean muscle tissue. Because anybody can work out, anybody can diet, but putting on lean muscle tissue is a whole different story. And then growing up, I was never a big kid. I was always kind of scrawny, but just real athletically built, and it was hard for me to put on weight. So once I got into more competitions, these guys were a lot bigger. And these guys maybe had been doing it longer than me. They knew more about the whole bodybuilding process than I did. And so it was just a lot more competitive than I anticipated. But I love competition, so that fueled me to keep on pushing.
What year are you in now?
This is my 7th year.
7th year?
Yeah.
It's pretty darn good.
So
it goes by fast when you're having fun, as they say?
It did go by really fast. I was enjoying it, But I'll say I was enjoying it up until the last 2 years. I started getting really frustrated because the last 2 years, that's whenever I'll say that I got to the elite level. All right, so the national level. In order to win your pro card, you have to take top 2 in a national competition, and in order to qualify for that national competition, you have to win a regional competition. So at these national competitions, you're going against all competitors, that have won all their regional competitions. So, and this is people from all over the U.S. So, the competition is really intense.
It's pretty stacked.
And for the last 2 years, I did 3 national shows. I took 3rd place in all 3. So I was 1 spot away from earning my pro card those 3 years. And that's whenever it got to the point where I was obviously even second guessing myself. Is this really right for me? What else do I have to do? I'm giving everything I got. I'm spending hours of cardio, months of dieting, I'm training hard, I'm posing like crazy. What else do I need to do? But I think that's what truly separates, those people that make it and those that don't. Whenever things start to get tough, but you don't quit, So I've never been a quitter in my life, and I wasn't about to start. I still had that goal in mind, and nothing was going to stop me to get it.
It's funny that people may think that that's a cliche saying, but it's so true. So many people just run it over,
Exactly.
right? Mm-hmm. That can be applied in so many different areas, and it's awesome to see now that we get into it, what the fruits of this system were and how it affected your life, man.
Most definitely.
It's super cool. So now, what the heck happened last year? What happened in 2020? I know it was an interesting year for a lot of people, but it was particularly interesting for you.
2020 kind of took me and then a lot of people, everybody that I know, for a surprise. In 2020, at the age of 30, it was almost a year ago exactly. Through the month of February of 2020, I started getting, a lot of weird symptoms, and I started losing a lot of weight. I wasn't dieting. I was in a calorie surplus, mind you, and not doing cardio or anything like that. And through the month of February, I lost 36 pounds. So I knew something was wrong.
36 pounds?
36 pounds.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so I was basically down to competition weight again, and I wasn't even trying, Then other things started happening. I was feeling really dehydrated. My skin started getting really dry. I had this film in my mouth, I couldn't quench my thirst, And then I was having to go to the restroom frequently, and it's something's wrong. It wasn't until that my parents got wind of me just being a little under the weather that my mom showed up to my house and said, "Oh well, here's I brought you some chicken noodle soup, some ginger ale," and thinking that I had the flu, And I was like, "No, it's not the flu. This is something different," And she took my temperature, and it said 91.4, and then she's like, "Oh, that can't be right," So she checks her temperature, it's normal. Checks mine again, and 91.4. She said, "Oh, well, let's go get you checked out because I don't like how this is looking. I don't like how you're looking," because I was even I was super achy. I was walking crooked, getting really confused easy, real disoriented. So I knew something was wrong. So we went to the hospital. We went to the ER. I got checked out, asking me a bunch of questions, and they quickly realized that my organs were shutting down, and that's whenever they gave me a blood glucose test. So it turns out, I didn't know all my life that I'm a type 1 diabetic. So a normal blood sugar ranges from about 80 to 120, 130 on the high end. My blood sugar levels were 1,050, so they were 10 times the normal amount. So at that point, that's when your body will start to shut down and essentially go into a coma. So I went into what they call diabetic ketoacidosis. So in this process, a lot of really serious things can happen. People have gone blind, people have lost limbs, people have died. So it was pretty serious. So right away I got admitted to the ICU. I spent 3 days in the ICU, and then after that, once they kind of started getting my blood sugars under control, they transferred me to a different room, just to kind of observe me. And then because my immune system kind of shut down during that whole process, the body is more prevalent to get like infections, and I developed an abscess in a very inconvenient spot, mind you. It was in the groin, so I had to have surgery on that, and they couldn't suture it up. So it has to heal from the inside out. Because you're diabetic and you're more prone to infection, if they suture it up, bacteria can still get into little pockets. So they left the wound open, and it was about a 4-inch incision, maybe about 1 inch wide, that had to be cleaned out frequently. So you can imagine how awkward that was, and how painful it was. So I ended up spending 11 days in the hospital at the beginning of COVID when that happened. So it was kind of really unfortunate timing. Yeah.
Man, that is very interesting timing.
Yeah.
Man, let's talk about adversity. Tying this into bodybuilding, I know there was a certain set of words that lit a certain fire under your butt.
Yeah, you got that right.
I would love to hear what those words were and how that impacted you.
So when I was in the hospital in my recovery stage, some doctors and some nurse practitioners were coming in there and talking to me. Well, I'll describe it as trying to implement scare tactics. Okay, so now I can understand these scare tactics for a average Joe, like a normal individual. I don't consider myself normal just because of the lifestyle I live. They were saying, oh, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't be doing this anymore. We think that you should stop bodybuilding. It's too stressful for your body. And part of me understands that as far as bodybuilding means stressing on the body, especially the last couple of weeks whenever you're kind of really manipulating water, your organs can be under a lot of stress. But this was the first time in my life that anyone has ever told me that I couldn't do something. So that is what kind of lit a fire in me. It rubbed me the wrong way. I've been so fortunate in my life to have a great supporting cast, family, friends saying, you can do whatever you want to do. And I've always truly believed that. And now, so this was the first time that someone said you couldn't do something. So I told myself right in that moment, I'm doing another show. I don't care what you say. I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to win that pro card. I don't care what I got to do. I'm going to do it. The thing is, I didn't tell anybody that I was competing. So once I recovered, it took me about, maybe another 10, 11 weeks in order until a point I could like fully train again, fully trained legs and all that. But I set my sights on the show, which I was already qualified for. And told nobody, except for one person, just the guy that coaches me, Corby Nutifro. So he helped me out a lot. But my parents didn't even know until a week out of my show. And now, the only reason I didn't tell my parents is because I didn't want them to worry. They care for me deeply. Like they got really worried whenever I went to the hospital. I've always had a clean bill of health, so it really was shocking for them to see their son, almost die. So I had this whole new fire lit in me and a whole nother reason to compete aside from my original goal. So proving people wrong as well as accomplishing my goal, it was kind of like knocking 2 birds out with 1 stone. So 8 months later, I competed in the USA Championship of Bodybuilding and won my pro card in the Classic Physique division.
That is one heck of a story, man. It's hard to keep composed.
Yeah, 2020 was quite a journey.
That is awesome, man. How did that feel, going through that journey, going through that adventure, earning that card and just reflecting on, what that piece of the story meant for your life and the lesson you learned?
It meant so much to me. It honestly took a while to sink in because after it happened, I was is this real? Like, did this really happen? All these years that I've dedicated this, and it finally happened. So it meant so much to me, because through that whole process, especially the last couple of years, whenever I started getting really, really serious about everything and I was pushing my body to the limits, I had to kind of isolate myself. So I pushed so many things aside. Going out with friends, family gatherings, I wouldn't eat or partake in some of the events. Even relationships, there was even a couple of like really great girls that, it just didn't really work out, because part of it I was so focused on attaining the goal that I couldn't give myself 100% to anything else, and that's not fair to anybody else. Yeah, like I said, I just shut myself off of so many avenues that just to accomplish that goal. And then once I did, it gave me this such a huge just like relief of this like pressure that I had put on myself. This big weight was lifted off my shoulders. It's like, now you can relax. Now you can enjoy life a little bit. You can start having fun, in the gym again, and like how you started. You can spend more time with family. You can maybe get into a relationship. You can pursue other avenues in business. So it was like a whole new world opened once I attained that goal. So right now, after that whole process, it's just, I feel like I'm just like a happier individual, just overall.
What a blessing that whole situation turned out to be, and just that you were getting frustrated not only in those last couple of years, but then your body got even more frustrated with this health situation, and you were able to make a decision and act on it, and do it without showboating or having to tell the whole world.
Yeah.
You just went out and said, I'm going to get this done, and it happened. And through that whole experience, you came out with more happiness, more fulfillment,
Exactly.
more excitement for life, and a new perspective. And I think that's a pretty sweet thing to walk away with, that a lot of people are missing out on.
Most definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge blessing. God's really playing a big part in your life there, man.
Most definitely. Yeah.
That's super exciting. And I appreciate you sharing that part of your story, because that final bit is where a lot of people, they quit and they fall under pressures that maybe aren't necessary pressures in some cases, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't have a clear goal, like they don't know what their purpose is or their calling. So for you to share you achieving that is super awesome, and I'm excited to share that with the world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anybody that's willing to take time and listen to my story or ask me any questions, I'll be happy to do it. Because it was a tough road for me, and but I never once complained about it. It just, the way I looked at it is just like, well, stuff happens, and you either deal with it or you can mope around and not do anything about it. And I chose to deal with it, and in that whole process, I had to make adjustments in my life. I had to prep a different way, but I figured it out.
You figured it out.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's so exciting. It's hard to keep my emotions contained. I'm not sure how excited that I want to be, but that's cool. I think that's a huge lesson for people. So reach out to this guy, because I know that you are super open to sharing your story, and this is one piece to that puzzle. That's one piece to the puzzle. So please reach out to Jordan, because I think you add a ton of value to this world, and I'm excited to see your next steps, man. And speaking of next steps, with the skill sets that you've developed over the last, well, actually your entire lifetime, not just the last 7 years, how are you using those to help people today?
As a profession, I'm a personal trainer as well. So throughout the years, and my own journey as far as like bodybuilding went, I did, countless hours of research, attended seminars, got a bunch of certifications, all to try and get me further and closer towards my goal, just to keep on improving. I've been through a lot of trial and error to figure out what works, what doesn't work. So now I'm in the position where I can help other people, not necessarily that have the same goals as far as competing goes or anything like that. I can most definitely help those people out as well. But other people that have goals of just getting their health in check, getting in shape, losing weight, gaining muscle, and then now, with becoming a type 1 diabetic, I'm also in the process of becoming a certified diabetes educator. So I'm taking courses for that right now. So it's just adding another certification, another skill set to where I can help people that are facing some of the problems that I had to go through. So, and I'll continue to do that. I've always looking to broaden, my sense of knowledge whenever it comes to health and fitness, not only for my own benefit, but to benefit other people.
Man, that's awesome. What now is what's your vision now? I guess is a simple way to put it. What's your next steps?
So next steps is just to keep on growing in every aspect of life. Bodybuilding is always going to be there, but right now I told myself I'm taking a little break. That way I can focus on other things. So in this process, I'm going to be focusing on, growing myself business-wise, trying to reach out and help more people, connecting and networking with more people that have some of the same visions or, need some help in directing, where they want to go in life. And I'm not too sure when I'll make my pro debut. I know I still love bodybuilding. It's something that will always be engraved in me. I love that competing aspect. And in the meantime, fitness is always going to be a part of my life. I'm always going to be working out, trying to progress myself. And so I'm still constantly doing that. I like to practice what I preach. So
that's a trait a lot of people are missing out on. So it's good that you follow through like that, brother.
Yeah.
Speaking of networking and connecting, what kind of people do you look forward to connect with? What kind of people are valuable in your life that you would like to surround yourself with?
I am very passionate about surrounding myself with like-minded individuals. So me personally, I would describe myself as hardworking, and so if anybody is willing to, kind of apply themselves and work hard, and with an attitude of humility, and with this willingness to, want to share their gifts, those are the type of people I want in my life. So, if that describes anybody, feel free to reach out.
That was the hint.
Yeah.
Before you share your social media stuff, seriously, for those of you who are looking to connect with somebody as awesome as Jordan, and for somebody who works as hard as he does, focus on those simple concepts, because they're not that complex. There's not really a lot to think about behind those. It's just a matter of being disciplined and following through with them.
And consistency.
And truly that love for others. I like that key point there of having an impact on somebody else's life instead of always worrying about just me, but showing up to a place or to a network and saying, like, this is how I can contribute to the group, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm committed to that. I think is huge. So you guys keep that in mind, because connecting with this guy can definitely take you places. Where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you or contact you?
Through social media, you can always find me there. Stay pretty active on that.
At
IFBB Pro_Jordan. And then if people are looking for like any personal training, you can look up our website, traininginnovations.net. So it's just strictly personal training. People can't get memberships to our gym. So it's a nice little private spot where we're in right now, actually. Do have a Facebook page just under Jordan Moore. But yeah, that's all my contact.
Yeah, well, good. If for some reason you don't have access to either of those, leave your comments down below, and if you want to connect with Jordan, I will help navigate that. I think that just about wraps everything up. I'm super thankful that you shared your story, because it not only has impacted my life to hear what you've overcome, but I know that there's many people that will be impacted just the same and have already been impacted by you without telling you. You know how there's tons of people watching from the sides who are like,
Yeah.
That's an inspiration right there. So
Yeah, no, I'm extremely grateful for you bringing me on here. You know, I love the message that you're trying to put out there, and I'm just thankful to be a part of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you may see us two together a little more often, and we'll be sure to have you around in the future. Maybe we'll get some sick clips of Jordan lifting 1,000 pounds or something crazy. But thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Jonathan, behind the cam there. Thanks again, Jordan, for showing up and sharing your story. Please like, subscribe, share. Please share the heck out of this video. We would really appreciate it. And if you have any recommendations for other inspirational human beings who would be good for the show, please let us know. Please reach out to me or to Jonathan, and we can get something set up, because we know this world needs more inspiration, needs more motivation, and it needs good leaders. Needs good people to show up and to live out the life that they preach, so that others can follow and feel good about it. Because there's a lot of good life to live, even with some of the craziness that we have going on. So thank you guys, and we will see you later.